tonight, the RCMP increased patrols in the Conception Bay North evacuation zone as looting becomes a concern. That story and...
There were high-level talks today about future industrial developments in Labrador. And it's more than just hydroelectricity. There's a global shortage of critical minerals. And Labrador could help fill that gap. That story coming up.
Water levels in the interior part of central Newfoundland are experiencing what people are calling an all-time low. What about that story tonight on Here and Now?
Back to school can be tough. The province has announced a benefit, but nonprofits say more parents than ever are asking for help.
Just strictly essential supplies is getting more expensive year after year.
I'll have that story coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, with election chatter growing, the Churchill Falls MOU was back in the spotlight today as provincial leaders and energy execs held some very high-level talks in St. John's. But there's also growing interest in the critical minerals sector and how Labrador can help fill that gap. Terry Roberts reports.
Here are the key players in negotiations for the new Churchill River hydro deal, exchanging pleasantries Tuesday morning at Confederation Building.
We hope that we'll be able to finalize this deal, so it's a good opportunity today to continue the discussion.
We will get the deal right, and we will make sure we work through it respectfully and appropriately and diligently.
But both provinces are also eyeing another partnership on the critical minerals front. Discussions are underway to develop a rare earth minerals mining project that straddles the Quebec-Labrador border.
It's a huge opportunity for Newfoundland, Labrador and Quebec to invest with the federal government.
This is the Quebec Premier's first visit to the province since the signing of the historic and controversial Churchill Falls MOU in December. And it was also a chance to introduce Hydro-Quebec's new CEO, Claudine Bouchard. Despite some high-profile criticism calling the MOU another lopsided deal in favor of Quebec, both sides have committed to signing formal contracts by April of next year, and major construction could begin by 2027. Legault did not make himself available to reporters, but Premier John Hogan and NL Hydro's CEO once again gave a full-throated defense of the MOU, saying the province is protected from construction risks and will benefit from prices that will escalate over time, tied to the markets.
People want stability for the future of Newfoundland and Labrador, and over almost $250 billion will certainly provide that stability going forward.
Sounds cliche, but this is massive for us as an opportunity as a province.
The plan is to increase output on the Churchill River by nearly 4,000 megawatts, powered largely by the development of Gull Island, where some work is now taking place in advance of any formal contracts.
I think it's very clear that they're very serious about developing Gull Island.
And the old Churchill Falls deal, which sees Quebec receive practically free power, is being reopened years ahead of schedule.
We have an excitement and a momentum that would build in our province that would make us, and I'm going to say it, the envy of the country.
Another secretive meeting is the way to describe it.
But this opposition politician is skeptical and is worried that negotiations are being rushed.
Based on the information that we have today, and certainly we certainly need a lot more, I could not commit to simply turning this MOU into a deal.
The NDP only supported the MOU after the government agreed to independent oversight and says any interruption in talks would be harmful to the province.
It's going to come down as to what this oversight committee says.
There's a provincial election coming up very soon, and the Premier believes the Churchill Falls MOU is the #1 issue that voters should consider when they head to the polls. Opposition politicians disagree.
What I'm hearing about is access to health care. What I'm hearing about is the high cost of living. And what I'm hearing about is the crime rate.
He needs to stop deflecting away from the poor record in other areas.
But it's full speed ahead at this table, with both sides setting aside historical differences in a bid to forge a mutually beneficial partnership. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, as the Kingston fire continues to burn out of control, RCMP officers are trying to prevent looting in the evacuation zone. Officers are now increasing patrols using ATVs and boats looking for suspicious or criminal activity. As of last week, police were investigating at least 3 instances of thefts in the evacuation zone. One woman whose family home was looted says it's especially heartbreaking to have this happen during the already stressful wildfire evacuation.
It's crazy. And what's worse is it's not just my family. It's multiple people are reaching out to me. Ever since the post went on Facebook, I got well over 800 shares just on my original post. And then we got so many more people sharing and commenting. And I've had people reaching out to me saying, you know, their family members had this happen and so on. And it's devastation. I mean, these people are losing their homes, everything they worked for. And then for someone to go in and literally ramshack their house, tear it apart, leave the doors broken and open, and then to go in and steal an ATV. And that's the only thing we know for sure that's stolen, because we won't be able to get back there.
And a little update there, her family's ATV has since been returned to police. In other news, water levels in many parts of the province are low despite some rain this week. In the interior of the island, Beothic Lake is seeing a larger shoreline than ever. Troy Turner reports.
This sandbar used to house the entire community of Millertown. But in the 1920s, when the reservoir now known as Beothic Lake was created, the town was relocated to higher ground.
It was unheard of to see the sandbar years ago, say 20 years ago. You'd never see it, but it's getting more and more common for sure. The climate change, we can definitely notice it here in this lake.
Water levels in Millertown have been low for a couple of summers, but this one seems to be the lowest, says the mayor.
Normally we have a pretty good winter where we get some decent amount of snow, but the last couple of years have just been ice, frost. We're getting frost, but we're just not getting that precipitation, unfortunately. With the lack of snow in the past couple winters, we've seen this get extremely low for this time of year. I mean, it's normal because this lake is a reservoir for hydro. It's normal to see low water levels, but usually not until around October or November do we see a situation like this. But seeing it in August is very rare.
Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro monitors levels at Beothic Lake and discharges water from it when the Exploits River is low. Since other tributaries are lower this year, more water is drawn from the lake.
The water levels obviously are dropped substantially. I mean, because of all the dry weather we had. I mean, in normal years, I mean, the beach line will be just not far over that dip there. Everybody come out and go swimming, but now obviously that there's a few hundred feet to put your toes in the water.
The low levels are especially noticeable among the various streams and rivers in the area, says Stephen Clark.
I spent a long time on ATV and of course seeing the brooks and rivers that flow around the outskirts of Buckins, like I just said, in the plateau. I mean, there's barely anything flowing through. And of course, I guess any amount of rainfall that we did have, which wasn't much, I guess the bogs absorb it right up. Been lucky, I guess, this side of our highway with regards of any fires or whatnot, and I mean there's still a bit of water around, I guess, for people to enjoy and fishing and whatnot.
Back in Millertown, the sandbar has been getting use.
Despite it being really dry and smoky the last few months, we fully enjoy seeing the sandbar come out because we can enjoy the water in the lake with our kids.
Despite that little bit of rain over the past couple of days, the water levels here at Beothic Lake are still considered to be fairly low for this time of the year. And while nobody has that crystal ball as to what to expect for future years, the people here in this area figure summers are going to be more of the same in years to come. Troy Turner, CBC News, Millertown.
Well, with schools in the province set to reopen next week, government is offering $100 to families on income support to help with buying school supplies. Now, this move comes as nonprofit groups say they're seeing more families struggling this back-to-school season than ever before. The CBC's Abby Cole has that story.
Crayons, pencils, erasers, notebooks, the cost of school supplies can add up quick. It's something nonprofits say is getting harder for parents every year.
St. John's-based food bank Bridges to Hope distributes school supplies to any family that needs it in the metro area. They say this year the need is greater than ever before.
We started out this summer with a goal of supporting 400 students, and we actually received 900 applications.
And they haven't yet received enough donations to fill all those requests.
We have filled just over 600, and we still have about 250 students on our wait list.
The Single Parents Association also distributes backpacks to single parents across the entire province. This year, they have already distributed almost 1,000 and say there are about 150 more still on the wait list.
This year has been incredibly busy. I think it's something that we expected, but probably not to the extent that we've experienced. I keep saying every year that demand is higher, but it truly is.
Seaward says demand is going up because the cost of living is also rising.
I've never seen a pack of pencils so expensive or binders so expensive. So between that, your average bills, nothing is cheap anymore.
To help out with those rising costs, the province has announced a new back-to-school benefit that provides eligible families with an extra $100 per school-aged child to go towards buying those supplies.
We know how quickly these costs can add up. School supplies, backpacks, sneakers, the list goes on.
Education Minister Bernard Davis says the benefit has already been distributed to families in the school system on income support.
Each individual person is going to be assessed based on their needs, as you said, which is really, really important from our perspective in families and affordability. But in every aspect of government, we want to make sure those that need it are getting as much as we possibly can.
Nonprofits say that the benefit will help, but for food insecure and low-income families, they say more work needs to be done. Abby Cole, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the new Muse Community Center is set to open in September. The facility will be an indoor hub for those seeking to stay active in St. John's. The CBC's Julia Israel took a tour around the new Muse today.
After 8 years of planning and unexpected challenges, the new Muse Community Center is ready to open to the public on September 15th. With a 25-meter pool, a rock wall, pickleball courts, an indoor walking track, a shiny new gym, and more. The project invests into the city's future, starting now.
It's still a $33.5 million facility, so it's quite a large project.
But the city says the wait was worth it for people of all accessibility needs, ages, and backgrounds.
Our gender-neutral symbol. We have our wheelchair symbol. We really focused on the inclusion and accessibility piece. The world of construction is changing. The narratives in the world are changing. We want to be progressive and in line with what's going on in the world, and this project has done that.
High contrasting wayfinding and braille signage, an accessible sound system, and finally, an elevator. All things the public asked for.
There's a lot of different subgroups that love to use the current Muse facility. The Muslim community was very interested in having swims. The women need to have privacy in order to have a swim. So what we have done here is put in an electric strike window, so it provides complete privacy. So now the Muslim community or anyone else that's looking for a private swim has the ability to come and do that here.
The center's construction also accounts for climate change, designed with the next century in mind.
We wanted to make sure that the finished floor elevation of this building was at the correct height so that we're avoiding, when we have intense rain, any opportunities for flooding as we move into the future.
Knopp says this kind of inclusive planning makes a center last longer.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I think you have to be progressive and be thinking forward. I think if we stay current and where we are, we're never going to grow.
Julia Israel, CBC News, St. John's.
Coming up, the Paddy's Pond fire is officially out. We'll hear from the Provincial Forest Fire Duty Officer on the latest updates regarding the province's wildfires.
And certainly good news with the amount of rain that we've gotten over the last little bit. Still rainfall warning, though, in place for the Makovic area. You can expect that to continue as we head through the overnight tonight, another 30 to maybe 50 millimeters of rain. We'll say goodbye to the humidity, at least for now. And the long-range forecast looks fairly quiet. We've got temperatures in the 20s and some sunshine in the forecast. I'll break it all down for you coming up a little later.
Mother Nature lending a helping hand to firefighters battling wildfires on the Avalon today. A downpour of rain, a welcome sight for sure. The Provincial Fire Duty Officer joins me now from Corner Brook for an update on the wildfires. So, Jeff Motti, how did you feel when you heard about all of that rain today?
Well, I was pretty happy. We had 31.2 mils of rain on site today, and any day you get that much rain on site is a great day for, turning the corner on the fire. Well, we got lots of work ahead of us, but we definitely needed a lot of rain, a nice shot of rain like that. So it's great news.
Yeah. How's it going with the Kingston wildfire today?
The Kingston wildfire is, mainly been action today by ground crews. So we still have crews from BC out there with our Newfoundland crews. So we still got adequate resources out there. So they're just kind of working the ground and working the fire into the ground, looking for those hot spots that may arise and, doing all that hard work that's in front of them. So there's still a lot of area out there that could be covered before we can kind of make actually work towards declaring that fire out. It's still out of control. We're hoping soon that we'll see a change in fire status to being held, but as you may or may not heard with all your listeners, we had a very active day on that fire yesterday, and the western edge, it kicked up a lot of smoke and it really showed itself again yesterday.
So what does need to happen to change the status of the Kingston wildfire from being out of control to being held? Like, what do you need to see in order to change the classification of that fire?
So right now we're really hopeful by noon tomorrow that we're really seeing some positive signals that it's not going to kind of wake up any further like it did yesterday. So we'll be out there early in the morning. We're expecting, a bit of a drying day tomorrow. So we should see some indication whether there's any major life or activity left into that fire by noon or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So really hoping that we're seeing some really positive signals that really indicate that that fire has really moved in a direction where we're comfortable to saying that it's being held to the current perimeter.
So what about Paddy's Pond? How are things looking out there? Are there still crews fighting hotspots? What's that situation today?
So Paddy's Pond has been monitored over the last little while, and today we declared Paddy's Pond out. So really happy to see that being declared out.
Did the rain today have anything to do with the change there to Paddy's Pond being declared out?
Oh, 100%. That was the final indication. We've been monitoring that fire. We've just been waiting for the rain to come, and that was definitely a deciding factor in declaring that out.
Okay, well, let's move to Central now and Martin Lake and another little fire just west of Martin Lake. How are things going in that part of the province?
So Martin Lake's moving in the right direction as well. We opened that up to cabin owners, got access to that area yesterday. And one of the great things about that is, they can kind of go in and assess their properties. Right now, there's still potential for danger trees falling, so we urge them to be aware of that kind of bit of a hazard. Our ground crews are in there. They're still actioning hotspots, and they're really kind of starting to demobilize some of the equipment there. In terms of that site, like, we were unable to get helicopters and aviation assets on that site today, but we really didn't have a requirement for it. So there was another fire, as you had mentioned, further west than Martin Lake. That was called West Lake. That one happened yesterday afternoon and late in the day. And because we had assets on Martin Lake, we were able to quickly attack that fire, and we kept that to under 1 hectare in size. So, that fire is currently being held. It's being worked by 2 ground crews out there today. They're making some great progress, and they will continue to work throughout today. And hopefully, we'll keep on working that fire until we get a status change as well.
Well, Jeff Motti, some great news today. Thank you so much for this update. Really appreciate it.
Have a nice day.
Actually, we just heard from Jeff Motti before the break, and he was pretty delighted to see just over 30 millimeters of rain in the Kingston area, because that certainly helped firefighters. But how much rain fell in other areas in the province?
Yeah, well, it was pretty widespread along south coast and eastern areas of the island as far as rainfall totals go. But take a look at some of these numbers. So Pools Cove picked up almost 62 millimeters of rain. Burgeo, nearly 50, close to that in Port aux Basques. And then you head further east towards the Avalon, and somewhere between 20 to as much as 30 millimeters falling this afternoon. Well, really through last night and through this morning. You get towards central, only about 11 to 17 millimeters fell. So certainly good news. We definitely needed this rain. And the reason for the rain was an area of low pressure. And we've got another one up across Labrador as well, which is also bringing some thunderstorms at the moment. And we'll see that continue to move towards the coast as we head through the next couple of hours. As far as that moisture that it was dipping into across the east, that has now moved off. And we're still seeing some moisture being directed towards the coast of Labrador, and that is going to lead to some enhanced rainfall rates as we head through the night tonight. So Environment Canada still has that rainfall warning in place for the Makkovik area. Your numbers will likely, by the time everything's said and done, be closer to 40 or even 50 millimeters by the time we get into Thursday morning. Temperatures today. It was warm as far as humidity goes, but actual temperatures were only sitting in the low 20s this afternoon. Along the south coast, temperatures only around the teens, and then single digits still the case for Nain. So quite a big range in temperatures, even just up across Labrador. But you factor in that humidity, and it was feeling more like 20, or is feeling more like 26 in Cartwright right now, and all along the northeast coast, those humid conditions. Twillingate, 29, 28 is what it's feeling like in St. John's. So this will be the end of it. After tonight, once we see those cold fronts go through, big change in behind that. And you can really see that difference even for the coast, right? 9 degrees in Makkovik, 20 degrees in Cartwright. So expect that rain for the Upper Lake Melville area towards Makkovik, even Cartwright, to continue with some heavy rain through the overnight, at least at times. And then other than that, across the island, we're looking at the southerly flow, which is going to keep the potential for some drizzle and fog along the south coast of the island. And then pretty much as we get into tomorrow morning, that is going to be the story. And again, hanging on to that chance of some rain for Labrador as well. That will change to more showers as we head into the afternoon, and then we'll see some sunshine across a good portion of the island. Hanging on to some cloud cover, though, for the eastern half, where, again, we may see some periods of drizzle through the day as well, but clouds will generally be on the increase as we head into the afternoon and evening, and then there's a chance we'll see some showers develop again for the eastern portion of the island as we head through Wednesday night into Thursday. Again, we need all of the rain that we can get. So here's a look at the rainfall projections as we head through Thursday morning, particularly for the coast. Again, somewhere between another 20 to 30, maybe even 40 millimeters falling by the time we get into Thursday morning. So still lots to fall. Your temperatures are going to stay either in the single digits or in the teens across Labrador, depending on where you are. And then across the island between 13 and 16 degrees tonight. Overall winds will be out of the southwest, somewhere between 30 to as much as 40 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful as far as those temperatures go. Dry conditions overall, but temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 20s with southwest winds, especially for the west coast, a little breezy around 40 kilometers per hour, but light winds east. And then for Labrador, you're going to see your temperatures cool off a little bit, except for the southeast, where you'll be hovering around 22 degrees. Head to the north coast, still dealing with the single digits. Your long-range forecast coming up looks pretty good. I'll have that coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a former U.S. Navy camp in Dunnville is being demolished. The former recreation camp was originally built in 1943 and remained U.S. property until 2017. The 8 small cabins and 7 support buildings have long been abandoned, and the buildings have decayed over time. The province says the structures will soon be demolished in order to remove hazardous substances like asbestos, lead, paint, and mold. Government says the site will then become a green space for the public. This work should be wrapped up by November. Well, as we saw earlier in the show, Premier John Hogan met with Quebec Premier Francois Legault in St. John's today. The ongoing Churchill Falls negotiation was a major topic of discussion between the two provincial leaders, but there was also talk about the potential of another major interprovincial partnership, mining critical minerals in the Torngat Mountains.
We know that many of the critical minerals, they come from China, and many countries, including in Europe and in the United States, they would like to be more independent from China. So there's a project, and I didn't plan to talk about it, but Mark Carney talked about it this morning. In Germany, he signed an agreement for eventually exporting rare earths from Torngat. Torngat is in the Labrador Drought, which is at the frontier. A part of it is in Quebec, a part of it is in Labrador. So it's a huge opportunity for Newfoundland, Labrador, and Quebec to invest with the federal government. They already invested $165 million, and they want to do more, and we want them to do more.
Talked about mining opportunities in the region of Labrador, certainly on the border with Quebec. He's raised this with me on several occasions over the past few months, and we've raised these opportunities with the Prime Minister as well. I don't know if you saw the news that the Prime Minister is currently in Europe talking about critical minerals and exporting them from Canada to Germany, and Labrador and Quebec couldn't be in a better position to be part of that new regime and that new development between Canada and other European countries.
Have you been asked by the Premier, like he talked about a partnership on the Torngat project. Is Quebec asking you, Newfoundland, to come to the table with money that the federal government has?
No, it's not an ask about money. It's just about an ask about working together, talking to the federal government about potential financial opportunities that they can provide, infrastructures, funding that they can provide, make sure that we're aligned on how that can work and how that can benefit both provinces. It's not about if we give X, will you give Y. It's about working together in terms of working with the federal government on things like roads and port infrastructure.
Well, staying with energy news, the provincial government is extending some key deadlines for wind to hydrogen projects. 2 deadlines related to land for wind energy projects have been extended into February and March of next year. The Department of Industry, Energy and Technology says this is to allow companies more time to secure investments, as well as other pre-development work. 6 companies are pursuing wind to hydrogen projects in the province. And in other news, a new play being performed in Cowhead is all about greed, wealth, and Newfoundlanders on the Great Northern Peninsula.
Hi, my name is Megan Gail Coles, and I'm the playwright for Falling Trees. Falling Trees is actually part 2 in the trilogy, and it takes place in Newfoundland in 1938 during our commission government. It is located both on the Great Northern Peninsula of Newfoundland and the Avalon Peninsula of Newfoundland, inside of the powerful business and political class, as well as inside of a logging camp in the woods.
Hi, my name is Greg Malone. I'm doing Stuart Percy. My character in the play is the owner of the whole operation, the whole lumber woods. He owns the woods. So he's a big shot, and he's concerned with the big picture, not with the little guy. And the play is that tension between the workers and the owners. And I'm the owner. And so you see both halves, both sides of that world, and the conflict between them.
It is really integral to the project that we were honest about things while still keeping a sense of humor and being authentic in the character's representation of our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers, all the people that allowed us to live on this island.
It's a play that you really need to see because it shows Newfoundland in the 1930s in a way that we're kind of familiar with, but have sort of forgotten. And it really brings it vividly back to life. And yet it's completely like the world we live in today. The struggle between the labor and the power, the money, the elite, the billionaires, right? You were millionaires then, they're billionaires today. But you see how real power works and the effect it has on the general population. And it's quite revealing and quite a shock.
Too evil of the day. Too evil.
The RNC are investigating a hit and run in Conception Bay South. 2 weeks ago, officers responded to a report of a collision involving a pedestrian around 9:45 p.m. on Peachy Town Road. Now, the driver left the scene before police arrived, and a 49-year-old woman was sent to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the vehicle is described as an older model white SUV, possibly a Ford Escape. They're looking for any video footage from the area on the evening of August 12th. Well, in other news, minimum wage in Newfoundland and Labrador sits at $16 an hour. But according to a new report, the latest estimate for a living wage in parts of the province is over $25 per hour.
So we sort of start by looking at measures for what it costs a sort of reference household, a standard household, which includes 2 working adults and 2 kids. We look at what it costs them for housing, what it costs them for transportation, what the food budget is. We look at some measures of inflation. We look at some actual real world costs, what it costs to get the internet, all sorts of things like that. And we sort of tally that up as an annual budget, and then we work backwards from that as to how much you have to earn and then pay your taxes and get your various government transfers that occur in order to figure out what that sort of hourly wage needs to be in order for you to just keep your head above water. So this is a very conservative estimate of what it takes to keep the lights on and keep food on the table for this kind of reference standard household that we look at.
And this gap that you're seeing between the living wage, as you've calculated it, and the minimum wage in the province, I assume it's always been a significant one, and it continues to be a significant one. Where do you go with the information that you have? Does the centre act as a lobby group as well?
We largely view this at this point as advocacy. It's around what it is that governments and employers need to do to close this gap, because this gap is large. It has grown in recent years, and it is a huge economic and social problem that we do not talk enough about in this region. One of the things I always encounter in these interviews is that people often get focused on the idea that a lot of people that fall into this gap, sort of between maybe the minimum wage and what they need to earn to cover these basic expenses, are maybe young people at a first job. This is kind of the stereotype about low-wage workers. No, this is over 30% of the workforce in Atlantic Canada. And here in Newfoundland and Labrador, it's almost half of the female workforce. Women do not make a living wage, half of them in this province. So this is a relatively serious economic problem. And it's not just that it's a source of injustice economically, which it is. It's also that it's really bad for the economy, right? The whole reason we have an economy is to generate prosperity so that normal households where people are working full-time can actually afford to pay their bills and look after their families. And if they're not able to do that, if the wage economy is not producing those wages, we have a serious problem, and we need more attention from government and from employers to that problem.
Well, a popular new video game has a unique connection to this province. Date Everything features over 100 different characters and includes the option to date a Newfoundlander. The CBC's Amy Fian has more details.
Being stuck at your house with nothing to do can be boring. But what if you could date and talk to every item in your house? Sounds strange, I know. But that's the concept behind a new video game called Date Everything.
Congratulations.
It's a dating simulation game that comes from game developers Sassy Chap Games and is published by Team 17. And when it says everything, it means everything. A vacuum, a couch, even the toilet. There are over 100 different characters featured in this game, and one of them happens to be from Newfoundland. Meet Gaia. She's a globe with a heart of gold.
Welcome back, my angel, my trout.
And she's voiced by a person from this province. This is Sylvia Ryan, or Oz Ryan, as she's known in the voice acting world. She's a remote voice actor from St. John's, and she says because she works remotely, opportunities like this don't come too often.
I knew from day one that this game and the cast involved are so like high tier. Like I said, the star power behind it and the names and stuff are top of the board voice actors, people who've been in the industry for years and years. And since I'm somebody who's like barely even in the industry, especially since I'm remote, it's like it felt like a blessing and like very humbling, but also very like uplifting, because it's like you know what, I am good enough for this. This is really cool to see that like they're willing to reach out to somebody who's so far away from the industry and so disconnected just for that authentic representation and casting. It's like, oh, that's good. I love to see that.
Representation like this for Newfoundland doesn't happen a lot in video games. So, of course, it was something this St. John's Twitch streamer was very excited to see.
This is crazy! This is crazy! Ain't no way this game that everybody and their mother is playing right now has a character from my silly little province. Excuse me? I can't really think of any other video games where there's a character from Newfoundland. I think the closest is like, there's a very well-known like voice actress, Jennifer Hale, who happened to be born in Goose Bay. And that's kind of the closest to Newfoundland recognition in video games, mainstream games that I know of. So I think it's really cool because I'm sure, you know, a lot of people are falling for these characters. So I'm like, people will probably be like, Newfoundland, type that into Google and kind of see what it's about. And I think that's pretty cool.
With over 100 characters, the cast list for this game is also very big. And in a world where some game developers are now turning to AI to voice as characters, Date Everything has gone above and beyond to make sure a real person is behind every character. Now, Sylvia Ryan says for remote voice actors like herself, AI has caused some roadblocks.
Our accent and just our culture is a really good example. I can't imagine getting AI to properly try and replicate that culture, that charm, that essence. Like, you would not be able to get a machine to do it. They went above and beyond to reach out to people who were all around the world in all different sorts of situations because they wanted to properly cast, and that means a lot for us.
Date Everything has been available digitally since mid-June. But fans who are waiting for a physical copy, well, they'll have to wait until August 28th. Amy Fian, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, that was interesting. Well, moving on to other news, 2 young musicians from this province are being mentored by a Grammy-winning musician. British musician Seal is known for hits like Kiss from a Rose and Fly Like an Eagle, and he's now mentoring Summer Bennett and Becca Bartlett. It's all taking place in New Jersey. Music NL was invited to participate in the program, which is intended to give insight and tools to young musicians. Well, it's been hot and dry all across Canada this summer, and researchers say this could have dire consequences for an iconic butterfly. Jaden Dill reports.
The monarch butterfly relies on nectar from plants as fuel for its fall migration to Mexico, but a group of Ottawa researchers say this summer's intense heat and drought conditions could be putting this endangered species at further risk.
Climate change is increasingly on our radar for how it's affecting monarchs. And so again, with a year like this, it has the potential to really decline or decrease the number of monarchs that are making it to Mexico and then consequently the ones that'll come back.
At a farm near Arnprior, monarchs fly from flower to flower sucking nectar. Researchers from the University of Ottawa are experimenting on 5 plant species in an open field to see how the nectar fares under warmer temperatures. They place netted cages around pairs of plants of the same species, and then enclose one of those plants in a mini greenhouse. So tell me what's happening to these goldenrod flowers right now.
So they're sitting in our warming chamber, our open top chamber, and what's happening is we hope they're experiencing a slight degree of warming that replicates local climate change.
The researchers explained that temperatures in the mini greenhouses rose to 50 degrees during one of this summer's heat waves. The lack of rain has added another layer of complexity.
So far, there's a combination of things. One, it's entirely killed off some of the plants that we've been considering. So in that sense, there is no food from those plants available. There are no flowers. But from the flowers that we still have available, it looks like the sugar and the nectar, the sucrose, is getting to be more concentrated and more difficult to pick up. And so right now we're looking to see how monarchs are going to respond to those flowers that have been under these drought conditions.
To run the experiment, the researchers took 5 monarch butterflies from the area, and from them bred another 300. The experiment ends on September 15th, and some of the monarch butterflies will be released after that. Jaden Dill, CBC News, near Arnprior.
Well, they've been the world's best known item, and now they're the world's top trending engagement. Yes, singer Taylor Swift and football star Travis Kelce are getting married. They made the announcement on social media, and 20 minutes later, it registered 1.8 million likes. Swift and Kelce have been dating since 2023, and both are 35 years old.
It is time for the weather. Carl is out and about.
Yes, there are a lot of folks here in the Avalon Mall cinemas playing chess.
How do you do, sir?
All right, time for a look at the long-range forecast. And can you believe that this weekend is a Labor Day weekend?
Yeah, that's right. It is, isn't it?
It is.
We're already at the end of August. How did that happen?
Oh, when earlier in the show talking about kids going back to school, it's just like, wow, that just flew by.
Yeah, yeah. It did. And I mean, I guess we saw a little bit of break from the summer weather, but today certainly felt like it was back in full force with that humidity anyway. But the long range forecast does actually look pretty decent. A lot more dry weather as we head through the next couple of days as well, but we do have some rain in the forecast. So let's take a look at what's going on until we get there. So Wednesday night, another round of showers likely for the eastern portion of the island. They'll move through fairly quickly, but we'll see a few showers from that. Northern Peninsula as well, also looking at the potential for a few showers. And then for the western portion of Labrador, you'll see some showers move in through the day as well. Likely scattered, so it was nothing super significant, but still the chance. And then through central and maybe east again as we head into the evening, you may see a few showers with that as well. Temperatures are going to be in the upper teens, low 20s, and again dry. Northern Peninsula, though, you are going to see much cooler temperatures, especially along the strait there. Temperatures only 8-9 degrees through the day. And then for the rest of the big land, your temperatures will sit somewhere between 11 to 16 degrees through the day, and some sunshine for most, with the exception of Lab West, where you will see a few showers. Likely cloud cover, but there is certainly a chance of some showers. As we head into your Friday, again, a little bit unsettled, definitely some sunshine for some of us, but as the day goes on, we'll likely see some increasing cloud chances of showers for the west coast, south coast, and then across Labrador as well. For most anyway, the north coast will likely see some sunshine through the day. Temperatures rebounding quite nicely, 17 to 20 degrees for most of the island. Most of Labrador, rather, along the strait, cooler, only in the teens. Same thing for the Northern Peninsula. And then most of central, southern, and western portions of the island will actually see temperatures in the 20s, but a little cooler for Friday for the Avalon. Only about 14 degrees as your daytime high. If we take a look at the long-range forecast, though, as we get into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we'll move back to the temperatures in the 20s, and there's a shower chances early on Saturday, but the sun should come out. And Sunday at this point looks beautiful with a daytime high around the 21 degree mark rather. And for central Newfoundland, you're looking at a nice stretch of weather there as well. Friday through Sunday, cloudy periods or some sunshine with temperatures between 22 and 23 degrees. And then for western Newfoundland, overall your daytime highs will be in the 20s. Some shower chances by the time we get into Sunday. Lovely stretch of weather for eastern Labrador. Look at that, 20 to 24 degrees from Friday through to Sunday. Temperatures will hang out in the upper teens for western Labrador, but plenty of sunshine in your forecast. Our weather photo of the day is taken on the west coast in Rocky Harbour. Take a look at this beauty.
Oh, gorgeous.
Sun right on the water there as it's setting in the western sky. Thank you, Shane, for that. If you have any weather photos that you'd like to share with us, we love seeing them and I love sharing them. You can send them to my Facebook page or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Shane. Such a beautiful part of the province.
I know. It is.
And the forecast looking really good for this weekend so far. I mean, things could change, I guess, because it's still only Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah, and it is a bit unsettled, but we are looking at a ridge of high pressure moving in, which should keep things quiet. So yeah.
Good. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.